Good morning and welcome to Morning Moments. I am so glad that you are joining us today. Today I have a 2-for-1 sale. I've got two people from Church People, the hit movie. We had Christopher Sean Shaw on before and we've got him back. And now we also have Thor Ramsey, writer, actor, comedian, and I don't know what else he does. So welcome, gentlemen, to Morning Moments.
Good to be here.
Thank you so much for having us.
So this is such a wonderful movie. I love the movie, and now it's on digital today. This morning it's released on digital and DVD. Christopher or Thor, either one, tell us a little bit about how the movie's been doing and a little bit about what we're expecting as it hits the market now.
It's been getting really great reactions. We've been very, very pleased with the reactions. People are laughing throughout the movie. There's sentimental moments that you might find yourself with wanting to have a tissue handy, but lots of laughing and lots of impacting scenarios in the film.
Yeah, good. Never say impacting to a nurse, but that's a whole another story. But so
lots of poignant moments.
Poignant. That's better. That's because
that
means something else to a nurse.
Yeah,
So,
and I also like to say that no matter where you are on your faith journey, whether you're a believer or not, or a young believer or old believer, there's probably going to be at least one or two people in the characters in the movie that you'll relate to.
yeah. I related to a lot of them in my years of serving the Lord. I've been a Christian 57 years plus, and I have related to quite a few of them. I saw a lot of those church people throughout the years, let me tell you. Now, Thor, this was some of your brainchild, wasn't it, that you came up with, right?
Yeah. The original, first 30-some drafts were all my drafts, but the idea. But thankfully, everything about, I think every creative endeavor is cooperative in one sense. It's corporate. Even a novelist or a screenwriter. I had a guy over at Sony Affirm when I was having a meeting over there. He read the first draft and called me up and gave me notes. And he did that 5 times, a guy named Josh Nadler. And the last time we had a conversation, he says, what your story needs right now to bring all your characters together, because at that time it was kind of just a slice of life, humorous slice of life about a youth pastor. You need a big idea to bring all your characters together. So I'm like, big idea. Wonder what that would be. Then I had a friend call me up. So yeah, your first guy tells you need a big idea for the story, right? So that's influence. And then a friend calls me up and says, you're not going to believe what this gigantic mega church that we're all familiar with is doing on Good Friday. I'm like, well, what are they doing? Because they're crucifying someone.
Don't.
Yeah, there's no way. That's what I said. No, he's like, I'm on their social media right now. They are. So I'm going, let me check it out. So I get online. Well, it turns out they weren't actually crucifying someone. They were doing a passion play, but it was going to be so realistic. They had all kinds of warnings about if you're squeamish or faint at the sight of blood, etc. But it made it seem like they were actually going to crucify someone. And I realized that so many American evangelical pastors, probably with the best of intentions, had done such crazy things to draw people to church that for a moment, my friend and I believed that an American evangelical church would actually crucify someone on a Good Friday to draw people to church. And I knew right then, I go, there's the big idea.
There's the idea, yeah.
Yeah, so that was really the crux then of every draft that I wrote personally, and then the final draft that Wes Halula and I wrote together. Spent about a month together, and Wes hates the word impact. Just so you know.
Yeah, good.
No. He hates the word impactful.
Yeah.
Because it's not a word.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. It is if you're a nurse, let me tell you, but we won't go there. So when I looked at the movie and looked at the premise of what was happening about crucifying, actually putting somebody in the cross, the thoughts of those mega churches that seeker friendly, try to get people to come to the Lord. I really think that there's a sadness in America of turning the spotlight on the church and dimming it from the message of Christ. and all the smoke and lights and everything. It looks like a big show rather than worshiping the King of Kings and Lord of Lords.
Yeah, and that's really one of the messages of the movie. I think the trailer really brings that out. If you have a chance to play the trailer for people, but Collide Media, who put the trailer together, really captured. Well, it says it in the movie, but man, they really put it together succinctly for that trailer. And the trailer asks, "Is the gospel enough?" And I think that's the premise of the movie. Is like, all the whistles and bells get us distracted from the actual message. I think it was who was the guy that. He was an influential. What did he write? What book did he write? Anyway, he's the guy who raised the medium is the message. Robert McEwen, I want to say, possibly said it, but the medium is the message. That basically means that the way we present things affects the message. And I think there are so many in the church that are kind of naive, thinking how we present things doesn't matter. Like, well, it does. It does matter. Matter of fact, even it matters according to the word of God. He's given us the medium to present the gospel, which is generally preaching or sharing, which is, personal. It's personal. It can be through the word too. Now, I think films can do great things, sparking conversations. Can you present the gospel in a film? I think so, but I'm saying it still affects the message.
Yeah.
The way we present things, that the medium we choose to present it in affects it. And so all the whistles and bells and the atmosphere of the church service itself affect the message of the gospel. And it communicates something about how we're taking this message.
Yeah. Positive or negatively. Right.
Yes. Positively or negatively. Are we taking this seriously? Do we actually believe it ourselves? And some of the way we set up church almost says like, we don't take this seriously. It's almost like a corporate, sales pitch meeting. Yeah. And I'm not against mega churches. That's not the issue. I'm not against mega churches, but the thing I do say now is like, what I'm against is how the mega church mentality dominates the entirety of the church.
Yeah.
The majority of churches in this country are not mega churches. 98% of churches in this country are not mega churches.
Right.
The average church is 50 to 100 people, right in there, and that's normal. But the mentality that dominates the church is we all need to grow into these things, and I think that's the damaging mentality.
And the reality of the ministry is that there are pastors. I have a brother who's been pastoring for many, many years. My dad just passed away after 60 some years of being an ordained minister. And he pastored small churches that nobody else would pastor. And he reached people for the Lord that nobody else would have pastored and kept them. But he was their shepherd because he was called to be a shepherd of that flock. And you don't have to have the big numbers to be great in God's kingdom.
Well, the biblical point is all pastors are called to be shepherds.
Absolutely.
So how do you shepherd 20,000 people? I mean, you're not a shepherd at that point. I mean, again, I'm not necessarily against mega churches. No. They can set things up in a way that people can be shepherded, but I do think the critique is valid in terms of why does that mentality dominate the church? And it's because the church overall has adopted the same principles as the world when it comes to marketing and leadership and everything else. Rather than having a biblical model, we have a worldly model, and it's affected the church in a negative way. I mean, why does every big conference is some pastor who's a big church? Why? Because they can sell. Their numbers are already, if they get a book deal, they already have a built-in audience. They get the sales. It becomes about marketing. I hate to sound so cynical, but that's problematic within the church.
Because Church People is actually a comedy, ladies and gentlemen.
It is actually a comedy.
It's a satire.
Yeah, it's a satire. It is funny.
It was Andy's show, and he took it to a serious place, so we just went with him.
I don't want people to think they're going to some dark comedy either. When you see this, it's
lighthearted. I would say this: Church People was lighthearted.
Yes,
it did not actually become the comedy I wanted it to be. Because again, movies are made by a group of people.
Yeah.
So we literally had to fight to keep it a comedy, and we left a lot of comedy on the cutting room floor. But even the tone and some of the stuff, I mean, I would have, I would have made it way more satirical than it is. But what's nice now is people are reacting really well.
That's it.
To the final cut we put out there. As a group, something that you said, and I might want Christopher to address this too. Sometimes people just need to hear a piece of the gospel, because if we could get them in to watch a movie, which they wouldn't have gone to church to see, or maybe then the Lord can deal with their heart about the next step of getting closer to the Lord.
Yeah, God can speak to you through a variety of means, a variety of people, a variety of circumstances, film, TV. He can speak to you however he chooses to speak to you, for sure. And it's all part of his orchestration of the plan for your life.
Yeah. I think it was CeCe Winans and Greg Long that sung a song called 15. Somebody may have had 15 times before they've accepted Christ. 15 somebody. Sometimes people plant, sometimes people water, and sometimes it's just that little bit of a nudge while we're laughing in a movie that gets people to the next step. So somebody then a neighbor says, God loves you, cares for you, and he wants you to come to him, and they maybe harvest that Christian to the Lord. So
I'm actually reminded of a reviewer. Collide Media Group has a group of like 1,500 bloggers and so forth that they send screeners to and do a review of the movie. And one of the reviewers had been hurt by church before. She hadn't been, I think, in around 5 years or more.
Yeah. And
the movie actually helped her realize, okay, yeah, there's a lot of not, uncool motives in the church, and there's a lot of people who have some bad ideas, but there's also people in there who have some good ideas and they really do want to make a difference.
Yeah.
I think I might need to revisit Finding a Church Home, because I miss it.
That's great.
That's huge. So
yeah.
Not only did she like the film, but okay, here's that word again. It impacted her in a way that
it was impactful.
It was, yeah. Shout out to Wes Alula. It was impactful in such a way that she actually started rethinking of I actually do miss the family that church can provide. If it weren't for all the charlatans or hypocrites or whatever, you fill in the blank.
It wasn't for the people in the family.
Yeah.
There are people. The problem with families is that there are people in them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the problem with families.
I've heard pastors say ministry wouldn't be too bad if it wasn't for people.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
So that reminds me of a really funny joke. I'll make it really short. Guy stranded on a desert island for 20 years. Ship comes by to rescue him, and they discover there's 3 huts on the island. And so he gives them a tour. He goes, okay, so this is where I live. And on Sundays, this is where I worship. Okay, well, what's the 3rd hut? Don't even get me started. That's where I used to worship.
Oh, gee, boy, isn't that the truth? But there are a lot of hurt people out there that's been hurt by church and church people that maybe it's time for you to fall in love with the bride again. I know I had to. I had to. Somebody one time told me, you can't love Jesus and hate his bride. I go, what do you mean? Well, the bride is his church. And you can't say, Jesus, I love you, but your bride is ugly. And I had to fall in love with the bride of Christ again to be restored because of hurt and bitterness. And so if you're allowing this movie to do that, allow it to do that as well. But get out and see it. Now you have no excuse. It is in digital. You can find it in digital. I'm going to post those things down below. You can find it in DVD. And you can also look for Anchor Productions, just so happen to have it right behind you. Anchor Productions there. You could look at that to see all of the things that's available at Anchor Productions. Christopher Sean Shaw has produced a lot of wonderful things. And also look for Thor's work too. I want you to continue to pray for Christopher's ministry, also for Thor's ministry of humor and acting, as well as the movie, that God would continue to bless these gentlemen and all of the crew, that God would continue to bless them. Guys,
thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I want to thank you so much for taking the time this morning and to celebrating this release.
Very
thank
impactful
you so much.
podcast.
Very impactful. Thank you all for joining me for another Morning Moments. God bless you.